we'll see that the first thing that he did. So when I heard these things, I sat down and wept. For some days I mourned and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven. So there's three things that he did. He persevered in praise, he persisted in prayer, and he prayed for God's plan. So it's a good example of the things that we should also have when there's something that touches our heart or we have a burden to take action. So the first thing was he had praise. So in Nehemiah 1:5, it says, "Then I said, Lord, the God of heaven, the great and awesome God, who keeps his covenant of love and those who love him and keeps his commandments." So he started praising God. A lot of times when we hear bad reports, a lot of times what we go to is, God, why did you let that situation happen? Or God, you're so great and powerful, and why is this happening? But the first thing that Nehemiah did was, he started praising God. He started praising God for who he was and what he's done. And he already knew, why that Jerusalem was in that situation. It's not just a thing that just happened, but it was part of God's plan. God had sent prophet after prophet for the people of Israel to change their ways. But they didn't listen. They continued doing what they were doing. They weren't listening to God. And then finally, God had enough and allowed Jerusalem to be destroyed. And so there was a reason for that. And so, as Christians, we don't look to God as just like a genie, and we don't expect him to just wait on us hand and foot. We just don't say, hey, God, take care of this situation, or God, answer this prayer. The first thing that we do is we just praise him for how great and powerful he is. Have expectations that he can do great things, not just expect just the small things. And so they say in America that less than 10% of all people are Christians, and I think that number is like going lower and lower very quickly. And I think even with that less than 10%, there might be a lot of people that say they're Christians, but what does that really mean? Does that mean that they're going to church regularly, or does it mean that they're just not part of another religion? They might just say, well, since I'm not Jewish, then I must be Christian. But are they really a true Christian, or just aligning themselves to that faith? And so there's such a great need for us as well, is that right here in our own area, there's so many people that are looking for Christ, and we shouldn't be afraid to try to share that message. There's people searching for an answer, and we have an answer. And so we should, look for opportunities where we can share and not be afraid. And, even though, we hear on TV or we hear on the radio, this person is sharing their faith, why are they doing that? They should just be quiet. They should just let people be who they are. But I think in a lot of times people are wanting to hear that. They're not expecting people to, beat them over the head and say, you need to believe this. But I think when they hear, your personal testimony, hear how things are going on in your life, they're looking for that type of news. And I think it really, truly helps with their own faith. But it says that he was afraid. And I think even as us Christians, there's times that we could be afraid. It doesn't matter, if we're a Christian, we're human and it happens. And even men of God have also been afraid. But the difference between, people that do great things for God and people that, don't do anything is, we do have the same fear, but the thing is, what do we do with that fear? Do we push forward? Do we trust in God and allow him to do his work? Or do we just give up? So we have fear in both situations, but do we overcome that fear or do we give into it? And so in Nehemiah's case, he pushed forward. He wasn't going to allow that fear to overcome what he wanted to do. So he's going to just keep pushing forward and give his requests to the king. So he tells the king that not only does he want to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the walls, but he wants to take this time to leave his job. So we have this person that's a cupbearer. You can think of some people that are in their own jobs right now. You can imagine somebody coming up and say, you know what, I'm just going to be leaving for a long period of time, and I'm not really sure when I'm coming back, and I'll just let you know. You think that's going to be a pretty big issue, because he has an important job to do, and then all of a sudden he's just going to be leaving. You think the king would say, I need you here, I need you to fill your responsibilities, I can't let you go. But he tells him that, yeah, I'm going to be leaving, I'm going to be taking care of these walls, and then not only that, I want you to send your secret guard to protect me as I go there. And then not only that, I want you to finance the whole thing. So go ahead, give me your credit card, and I'm going to buy all the supplies that I need. And so it's just an amazing thing here where he's not just asking to rebuild and to change a law that was already written, but he's asking the king to finance and to support his request. And so it's just amazing how it's just an amazing request was able to be fulfilled by God, and it kind of just goes back to the things that William Carey said, that expect great things from God, attempt great things for God, because we have a great God. So he didn't limit what God could do. He just didn't look for a small request. He went ahead and just requested everything. So also, Nehemiah didn't even say oh, I'm going to just be taking care of this on my own. He received that God was going to help him. Still he knew that he needed others to get involved and be part of this work. And so it's not just a matter of Nehemiah being able to be blessed by what was going to happen, but then other people that were going to be taking part in rebuilding these walls would also be blessed. And it's the same for us too. We have so much work that we can help with. And if we get involved and if we, put our own hands into the task, we also help each other, but then also we're being blessed on what God can help us with. It's really an opportunity for us to be able to be a part of something. Has anybody heard of the Murphy's Law? A lot of times at work, people talk about that. And in my position, that's something that's brought up all the time. And what Murphy's Law is, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And a lot of times we spend our time, at my job trying to figure out, okay, what can go wrong? And even though if there's a small percentage of a possibility of that going wrong, guess what happens, right? You expect, oh, it's never going to happen, but and the very next day it happens, right? So, you think that for Murphy's Law, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. So it came from a certain situation in history. So there was a person in the 40s. His name was Dr. Stapp. And what he was trying to do was he was trying to find the effect of G-force on the human body. And basically that's like the effects of like great acceleration or deacceleration. What does that do on the human body? And so he had a assistant, and his name was Captain Murphy. And Captain Murphy had a sensor, that would be able to find out, what the effects were. And Captain Murphy had an assistant, and he was going to be using the sensor to do the testing. So his assistant took the sensor and put it on a chimpanzee, tried to simulate, what would happen. And the experiment turned out to be a complete failure. And, what happens when there's something that goes wrong, at work? First thing that happens is people start blaming other people, right? First thing you do is try to cover yourself and then try blaming other people so you don't get blamed. So that's exactly what happened. Everybody started pointing fingers, and then it was Murphy that was pointing to his assistant and said, if this guy could make a mistake, he would make a mistake. So he was putting all the blame on his assistant, saying that, if he was able to have an error in what was going to be happening, he would definitely make that error. And so he kept on criticizing this person, Murphy. So, not only is it in the regular realm, but even in our Christian lives too, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And the reasons for that is because, there's three different things that's constantly attacking us, which is the world, the flesh, and the devil. Anytime we try to do something great for God, it's always those factors that are trying to mess us up and try to stop us from what we're trying to do. So as we're trying to create, we have the destroyer trying to tear down.
Place need a savior. All of you in this place, you are not exempted. You need somebody. You don't need a boyfriend. You don't need a girlfriend. Whatever you think may satisfy and wipe away your tears, because that is temporary. But if you want something permanent in your life, you need to lean on Jesus Christ.